Hello and welcome to Carnivore Wellness. My name is Rebecca and today I want to chat with you about oxalates. Why does this matter at all to the carnivore conversation about what we eat and how it affects our bodies? These oxalates are commonly found in many types of plants, and they are a plant defense mechanism. When we eat plants that are high in oxalic acids, we ingest those oxalic acids and it combines with calcium to form these oxalate crystals. Now, why should we be worried about these crystals? If you're a visual learner, this might be a reason. This right here is what these crystals look like. Very sharp, jagged, pointy. You can see some of them precipitate to look like these awful needles. And I would like to just let everyone know that I am not an oxalate expert, but this woman right here, Sally K. Norton, she is. She knows her stuff. She put out this book at the end of last year, I believe, Toxic Superfoods. It is full of a wealth of information. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who wants to explore this subject further. And I'll link that for you down below. First, let's start with some of the foods that have these higher levels of oxalic acids in them. And a lot of them, we're told, are superfoods. Things like chia seeds or beets or sweet potatoes or spinach. Things like almonds, even some spices like cinnamon or turmeric and even black pepper. They can be very high in oxalates. What is the issue with our body's ability to process these? These crystals lodge themselves in our bodies in a multitude of places, in your joints, in your tissues, like in your organs, in your body. When all of these oxalates form and take up residence in your body, they maybe are okay at first and you don't notice those symptoms, but as they accumulate more and more, it can lead to different symptoms, often symptoms that we attribute to old age. Things like aching joints, vision loss or hearing impairment, aching back, upper back pain, lower back pain. If you're not able to move your body comfortably so that you can enjoy intentional movement and exercise, you're really missing out on some of the best life has to offer. And it is possibly due in part to these oxalates. Why exactly does that relate to a carnivore diet? On a carnivore diet, we're simply eating meat, eggs, some dairy, however you define your carnivore journey, that's up to you. But by and large, we do not eat plants. Now, some folks may still include some spices. That's totally up to you and based on what's best for you and your level of sensitivity. But it is worth noting that even some spices, as mentioned, can contain these oxalates. Overall, however, we do not ingest the same level of oxalic acids as the rest of the population following either a standard American diet or people following a healthy diet. Even folks who are trying to be health conscious may not be aware that they are ingesting something that is actually depleting their body's level of health. When we go to a carnivore diet, reducing our amount of oxalates coming in, our body suddenly has this ability to start eliminating and flushing out those stored oxalates because it doesn't have as high of an amount coming in anymore. So that oxalic load is not nearly as high. So your body can get to work doing what it is made to do, which is to heal itself. When we experience that, this process of eliminating our oxalates, it often does not go unnoticed by the person experiencing it. So this is where we get what are called oxalate dumping symptoms. Now, the oxalate dumping is that sudden rush that your body undergoes when it suddenly realizes no more oxalates are coming in or very low amounts, and it can push those oxalates back out, process those, and they come out in a myriad of ways. So one is, like it goes through your kidneys and comes out through your urine. Sometimes your urine, you can notice it can take on a cloudy appearance because there are crystals and it's forming that cloudy appearance with your urine. Or it could even burn when you pee, as if you were to have some kind of infection. And often urinary tract infections can be a sign that your body is having to deal with too high of an oxalate load. And, it's flushing that out, but it's causing irritation in that urethra as your urine is expelled from your body. They can also come out through your skin. Suddenly the body is detoxing of these oxalates and it is coming out through their skin, through their eyes. There have even been folks who they will have crystals, actual solid crystals, kind of like a grain of sand that will emerge from their body that will come out through their skin. They'll have a sty in their eye and when it ruptures, it's an actual crystal that comes out, which is wild that our body can use our skin, which is one of, obviously our biggest organ, and a great detoxification pathway. We'll use our skin to push those crystals out. Itchiness is very common, even if you don't see actual physical crystals coming out of your body. Itchy eyes is another one. Now, the itchy skin and itchy eyes and itchy scalp, it can come out through your scalp. These were all things that I experienced when I transitioned from keto, where I was still eating lots of almonds. I was using cinnamon and turmeric, both for a lot of the seasoning that I would use to enhance the flavor of meals. And I was eating dark chocolate every day. And cocoa is very, very high in oxalates. So I was constantly having these high oxalate foods. So when I cut those out and I transitioned into just eating meat, I ended up going through a lot of these detox symptoms. So I noticed the itchy eyes, I noticed the itchy skin, the itchy scalp. And the other thing that was really noticeable was joint pain. It was most noticeable at night. I would lay in bed and I was in so much pain that often this pain would keep me awake. It would keep me from being able to get comfortable enough to fall asleep and stay asleep. It was interfering with my sleep, which is another thing that, whether it's from joint pain or not, this oxalate detoxification process, it can alter your sleep. So, I may have been getting it from not just the joint pain side, but from the fact that these oxalates can damage your neurological system. That can lead to another symptom I want to definitely point out, and that is anxiety or irritability or despondency, where you just don't feel good mentally. Now, one of the key benefits of being on a carnivore diet that folks notice often right away is their improved mood, their improved mental clarity. But after I'd started this carnivore diet, I did see those initial improvements, and then I would have a few days where I felt like I was going backwards and my anxiety would return a bit, or I wouldn't feel great, or I'd be kind of snappy with the kids, or too irritable and impatient, and I couldn't quite understand what was going on. Looking back now, I'm able to see that that was part of the oxalate dumping symptoms that I experienced. Genital pain, burning, that like tenderness of those tissues can be caused in part by oxalates, stored oxalates. Prior to starting a carnivore diet, my vaginal area was very sensitive, and not in a good way. Any kind of touch, even just a gentle wipe with toilet paper, was very tender and sensitive and painful. And this was also coupled with urinary frequency and urgency. So not only did I need to pee a lot, but I felt like I had to go all the time. Now, at the time, I chalked this up to lingering childbirth injury type of pain. A lot of times we're just told, oh yeah, things are never the same once you have children. And I kind of bought into this and thought, oh, okay, I guess I'm just going to have pelvic pain, pressure, and vaginal sensitivity from now on. But once I made it through this process of letting my body clear these oxalates out, I no longer had that genital pain, that tenderness. Another system that can be affected is the digestive system. So oftentimes, your body is trying to do its best to clear things out, and sometimes things go through the digestive tract, and then as they come out, this can lead to things like loose stool and even a burning sensation with that loose stool. The symptoms can be wide-ranging. What I'm talking about in this video is not all-inclusive. These wide-ranging symptoms, why would anyone want to go through this? This is really important to talk about, especially for new carnivores, because not only is this a huge paradigm shift in way of thinking about food and nutrition, but it's also difficult to go through the adaptation process, and especially when it's not going well. When we get our early victories, suddenly we're feeling better, we're sleeping better, we're free of cravings. Those things keep us coming back to carnivore for more and more healing and more answers. But when we start experiencing these setbacks, these struggles, these kind of things make you start to doubt and question if you're on the right path. So there's a few different approaches that you can take to lowering the oxalate accumulation in your body. One is to just simply lower the amount of oxalates that you are bringing in. A safe range to bring it down to is generally around 150 to 200 milligrams per day. We don't normally think about, our nutrition in terms of, how many oxalates am I getting? But when you can use charts like referenced in this wonderful book, Toxic Superfoods by Sally K. Norton, then you can kind of get an idea of which foods are higher in oxalates or lower and perhaps a little bit safer. In lowering that load, your body can slowly start to process and remove some of the stored oxalates. Let's just I want to be very clear. This process can take a very long time. It can take years. I don't know that anyone will ever be fully rid of oxalates ever. However, your body can significantly lower those stored levels over time and thus give you back better health. You can just lower these amounts and still keep some in. And that is often what's recommended, especially for folks who are transitioning. If you are on a very high oxalate diet and you go straight into something that is very low oxalates and non-existent oxalates coming in, your body is going to get rid of those with a vengeance of dumping, and it will lead to intense symptoms, or can lead to intense symptoms. That is not necessarily the best. Sometimes ripping the Band-Aid off is not what's best. So it's great to work with a practitioner. Obviously, I cannot give any medical advice. Please don't take any of this as medical advice. Me personally, when I went into a carnivore diet, number one, I wasn't quite aware of oxalates and the impact they can have on your body. Number two, I am generally an all or nothing kind of person. I don't do moderation very well. That's just my own experience and personality makeup. Knowing what I know now, I perhaps would have been a bit more mindful of keeping in some oxalates, but again, at the time, I wasn't armed with this information. I think it's why it's important that we discuss it, especially for new carnivores. And going through this, you can simply lower your oxalates, or you can keep in a very small amount. For example, a cup of green tea. That would give your body just a little bit of oxalates every day, so that instead of dumping everything all at once, it'll lower that amount to something that can slowly flush out while still making a lot of good forward progress, but keeping those symptoms at bay. Another thing that you can do that is often very helpful is to include some citric acid in your diet. So, for example, a slice of lemon in your water can go a long way to helping ease some of those symptoms. Now, even though I was carnivore, I did incorporate a slice of unsqueezed lemon in my water during the day as I would drink water, and that seemed to really help the overnight joint pain. I was still uncomfortable, but it was bearable. I kind of want to chat with you about what this process looks like in practice. One, dropping the oxalates out of your diet. Two, paying attention to your symptoms, because they will likely come in spurts of 3 to 4 days where your body goes through a nice big flush and detoxes, and then you'll get a window of time where you've got a break from the intensity of these symptoms. At least that's what I experienced. I would go through a time where all of a sudden I'd wake up and I had that weird tension, that anxiety, that irritability. And then I would notice that, perhaps like my wrists got really itchy, my eyes would get really itchy, sometimes the bottom of my feet or my scalp would get really itchy. And I would kind of wonder, okay, maybe I'm about to go through another round of oxalate dumping. And then, of course, at night, those nights, I would have the intense pain in my joints. And then at the end of it, I would have a notable bowel movement that was largely liquid and burned upon exiting. And that to me was just confirmation, yep, my body just got, pulled all of these oxalates out of various parts of my body, and it is now exiting my body, and I can feel it. So, and then I would go back into another series of days that offered a period of relief from the intensity of these symptoms. And this cycle continued. It is often said that oxalate dumping will last about 20 weeks. I would say mine lasted a little bit longer, probably closer to 26 weeks. And some folks, they can kind of get through this and they breeze through it. Maybe they don't notice these symptoms at all, or they don't chalk it up to anything other than just normal adaptation symptoms. And for a lot of folks, that's fine. But for others, it can be more of a process. I know many folks say, give it 30 days. And then after you give it 30 days, they say, okay, well, give it the full 90 days to really see. But sometimes for some people, that window of 90 days is not enough time to get all the way through, these changes, the adaptation that it takes for your body to adjust to eating this way, and especially this oxalate dumping process. You're having these difficult symptoms, these challenges, things that feel like a setback, but sticking it out, remaining curious. What is on the other side of this for me if I remain carnivore? This is the way we've eaten ancestrally. There are so many people with these beautiful stories of healing. There's something there, and I wanted to figure out what that was, but I had to be patient for longer than just that initial 30 or initial 90 days. So I really hope this video has helped clarify some things. Again, I just really want to shout out for Sally K. Norton. This lady knows what's up. She has lived this detoxification process herself. She really went on a deep dive to try and figure out what was going on with her own body and her own health, and why it wasn't optimal given that she'd been living a healthy lifestyle and eating healthy superfoods. So this is a great book. I'll link that down below. A wealth of information is contained within this. And then I'd love to know from your perspective, do you think you've dealt with any oxalate dumping? Is it something you've been able to avoid by easing into it? Are you seeing any symptoms, and what symptoms are you seeing? Again, these symptoms are wide ranging. I have not covered all of them here, just the ones that pertain to me because those are the ones I can speak on. But it's wide ranging. So I'd love to hear from others to know what kind of oxalate dumping symptoms, rather that they've experienced and have been dealing with, or maybe that they suspect now looking back could have been attributed to oxalates. So anyways, I want to thank you all for your time here. I'd love for you to comment down below. Let's keep the conversation going. Or you can hop over to Instagram and check out my page there at Carnivore Wellness. I also have a blog at www.carnivorewellness.com. Again, thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any more content like this. Continue to nourish your body with wonderful healing foods. I personally think that is best done by following a meat-based, animal-based, carnivore lifestyle. If you're new to the process, stick with it, stay patient, stay consistent, and stay curious. There is something for you on the other side of any sort of struggles or challenges that you're currently navigating. And remain curious and wait and see what's on the other side for you if you can just stay consistent and remain patient. Give this way of eating the time that it needs to really get your body to a place where it is feeling optimal. All right. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Again, my name is Rebecca. Thank you for joining me here at Carnivore Wellness. We'll chat soon.